Hello. Okay, I am making the video. I'm a little bit nervous about this, and I don't really know what to say, where to begin, or how long this video is going to be, or anything about it. So we're going to get through this together, okay? It's weird how nervous I feel considering the fact that this doesn't affect anyone's lives, and the only reason I'm making this video is in case there are other people out there who need it. So I'm just gonna say it. I think I identify as an asexual. Oh, that feels really weird. The reason I don't even have a problem with calling myself that or, saying that I am because I feel like I am. And that's not the bit I don't like about it. The bit that I really don't like is using any sort of word to describe my sexuality on a public platform, because that's a really big part of it for me. I don't like talking about anything like that. Any conversation that starts, I'm immediately like, la la la, no thank you. Not in terms of people expressing themselves, obviously, because I want everyone to feel comfortable to say who they are. But whenever a conversation starts about specific things that I don't like to talk about, so much so that I don't even want to say right now. Now, I had never considered that I was an asexual, and I think a big part of that is, I didn't really know anything about it. I think I'd heard the word, but never really added any meaning to it. And I think a big part of that is also that it obviously doesn't get spoken about as much as homosexuality or bisexuality or even pansexuality. Like, no one ever talks about asexuality. But I think number two is that I was always the youngest in my group of friends, at school, everywhere I went, I was always the youngest. And so whenever I would close my ears and go la 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 la, everyone would be like, oh, you'll grow into it. Oh, don't worry, when you're older, maybe. And I always knew it wasn't a matter of becoming older or growing into it or whatever. Like, I just knew I didn't like the conversations. I didn't like the way it all I didn't like it. And I didn't think that was something that was gonna go away. And I think the first time I realized that I was asexual, I think it was around September 2020, after I came back from Australia and I moved in with a bunch of friends. And just really randomly, one of the friends I lived with turned to me and said, Raquel, do you think you're asexual? And it was like this weird moment. And I don't want to say it was like everything clicked into place, but it was a moment of like, oh, maybe I am. Oh, my shoulders are so raised throughout this video. Gotta calm down. And after they'd asked me that and I kind of said to them, oh, maybe, because I actually told them, I said, oh, I've never really given it any thought, but probably, yeah. They then said, well, I am, as in about themselves. So basically from that moment on, I was like, wait, it's a thing and it's real and people can actually identify as that and it has a name and it's not just something of, oh, you'll grow into it, which I know there's the whole thing about people getting told it's just a phase. So I'm not saying that like I've had it tougher than anyone else. I think a big part of asexuality is actually that you're quite lucky in that sense because it's not as obvious necessarily. Like, I'm not bringing home a girl, Whereas if I was, then people would probably be asking me more questions. So that was September 2020 and I started like looking into it. I didn't really watch any YouTube videos, but I did scour Hannah Witton's channel because I know that she makes videos about all sorts of things to do with that. And I think I found one episode of her podcast, but that was it basically. And in fact, that might have been more recently as well. But yeah, there weren't really many YouTube videos. There were lots of websites that were really useful. And they started adding in words that I was like, oh, maybe this is like the branch of asexuality, like demisexuality, and I think demi-romantic and all sorts. I don't think I'm aromantic. I think I'm probably demi-romantic. Oh, and there's a grey sexuality as well. Like, there's a whole load of things. And it's amazing. And for me, it was really nice to know that there was a label for it. I know for some people that might be harder, but for me it felt really like, oh, this is a thing. And I felt really strange because I wanted to tell my parents. But at the same time, like I said, it doesn't really affect their lives. I'm not going to be bringing home a girl, so it's not even something they'll necessarily ever know about. But I just felt like they ought to know. But to bring it up in conversation was really hard, and I've got the most lovely, supportive parents. Like, I'm truly lucky. So I can't even begin to imagine how hard it must be for people, A, who don't have as supportive parents, or B, for whom it's a bigger deal, or for who the parents it might be a bigger deal, or where it does affect their lives more. Like, I spoke to them and I couldn't figure out how to just say it. But as soon as I said it, they were like, well, of course we support you, but also, what does it mean? Because they'd never heard of it either and they couldn't quite wrap their head around it. which is totally fair enough. Anyway, a couple of months later, I want to say it was around April 2021, I was sitting with a group of musical theatre friends, and I don't even remember how it came up. One of the girls said she also identified as an asexual, but for her it was really weird because she also felt bisexual, so she didn't quite know where she belonged. But that was really interesting as well because A, it was another person who was asexual, and B, it wasn't someone who struck me as what I presumed asexual would be. Because the other friend who asked me in the first place, they don't really like being touched or anything, so I wasn't as surprised to hear it from them, and they also always kind of squirmed when the conversations happened. And squirmed is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? Whereas this other person was much more, I can't even think of the right word, but just not what I pictured an asexual to be. Because again, I had so little experience with it. Cut to literally just a couple of weeks ago, when I find out that one of the people I'm working with is also an asexual. And again, I just would never have guessed it because they're really like loud about just sexual things. But it's just been really interesting to learn that it comes in so many different shapes and sizes because of course it does. And sexuality is really fluid. And I don't know, I'm not here to give advice. I don't even know what I'm here to do. I just want people to know that it's a thing because I didn't, and I just hated constantly being told, oh, you'll grow into it, when that's not the case. And I very much identify as an asexual. And again, like I just said, it doesn't have to be that you're exactly like me, but I just want people to know that it's a thing, that it's a valid thing. You might not grow into it, and that's okay. I don't know, I just feel like the world around me always felt really over hypersexualized, and maybe that's not the case. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, I want to stay away from it and I don't need to be hearing about all sorts and seeing all sorts and everything. I don't know, if you have any questions, obviously feel free to ask down below. I'll try to be as honest as I can. I am one person with one experience who's very new to all this, so I don't really know if I'll be much use, but I've sat down, I've made the video now, and I'm gonna upload it before the end of 2022, and it's gonna terrify me. And it's gonna be okay. And I just want to send lots of love and support to everyone who's dealing with whatever they're dealing with, because it's hard. And I've been really, really lucky for multiple reasons that I've already listed. And I know for a lot of people it's not that easy, but this is a safe space. I mean, at the moment, I'm the only one in the space, so I'd like to hope that it's going to continue to be a safe space if you join it. And if you don't feel comfortable commenting on a more, open platform, you can maybe send me a message on Instagram or something. I have it all linked below. I don't know if that works. I don't know if you can just message someone on Instagram, but we'll find a way. But yeah, just sending lots of love to everyone. It's going to be great, and we're all going to get through this. Yay!